So, I've been really looking forward to having this conversation with you.
Hi, Wing this boy wonder here.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to talk about, ever since we've had that, you were here in Toronto last time, we had a conversation about like my career choices and ambitions in life in relation to like the heroes that we connect with. It's really put me in a space of self-reflection, you know, especially to have a new job.
Right.
And I just really wanted to, you know, have a conversation with you about it in the sense of, like, I find that oftentimes in us in society, we don't really, like, know what we want to do or what we want out of life. Mm-hmm. And I do find, like, especially with you and I among our group of friends, like, the heroes that inspire us have played a role in terms of our career choices. I don't know how it is for you. I don't know if that's something you can speak on in terms of that.
I would say the biggest thing that connects me to my heroes in that regard is the sense that I always kind of pursue jobs that, at the end of the day, instead of a sense of like fulfillment or happiness. Like for instance, up to my prior job, I was working in the gym, very small job, but I felt just the interactions helping people was, just made me feel good, and I think that's a good way to judge if you're in the right field or not. For instance, like, if I had to compare it to a hero before going into details of my actual job, if you look at Spider-Man being broke, more or less, most of the time, still at the end of the day can sleep with a smile on his face, knowing that he's out there doing what he loves, no matter what the consequences are, and that's, I think, is very, very important, and that's how you can actually measure if you're doing well in life and such. Like right now I work with special needs kids in a primary school, and I go to bed every night. That's not easy. It's not, but the reward is greater than the work itself. The net gain is significant, and I really enjoy it. And I think that's really what people should aim for.
I agree. Last year when I spoke, we were talking about how, you know, a lot of people would see you as an exceptional teacher, but one of the powerful things that you said was that you care too much, and that's the reason why you couldn't be a teacher. And that really had, in terms of our conversation, that really put me in a space of self-reflection, in a sense of like, what do I want? Especially, you know, I'm in community work, which, you know, is pretty much puts us in the same field,
right? You
know, helping. And for me, one of the characters that really inspired me is Captain America, you know, Superman. And they're always about, like, inspiring people and encouraging people and helping people, you know, find and be the best versions of themselves. And the same way, like, I try to do my best to do that. I know that's the same case for you, too.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the questions you're asking me is, do I want, essentially, to kind of, in the work I do I want to be a teacher assistant where you're really helping? Because, like, when you have a classroom, no matter what, or a group of kids, whether it's a community center, whatever it is, a community center or a classroom, that there's always going to be kids that, like, fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
Like, you can't prevent that. And am I trying to teach the group of kids, or am I trying to teach the kids that are falling between the inevitable kids that fall between the cracks?
Yeah.
And I remember how you said, like, neither is bad. It's just, like, really, like, kind of check your ego in terms of what you want out of life.
Exactly.
And for me, really looking at it, I realized that I'm more in, like, I enjoy helping regardless, but I know when I have to focus on that one kid that needs help, you know, whether it's special needs or not, I can't get a bunch of other things done because that one kid requires so much attention. And there's nothing wrong with that. I was that kid. Yeah. Funny enough, I don't think you were ever that kid who needed all that focus and attention.
Thing of the sort.
Exactly. So we're actually like opposite ends of the spectrum. It's kind of funny, right? I was that kid who needed that attention, and so I understand the importance of that. But like when I'm doing that, there's like, I can't help like 15 other kids with their assignment because this one kid needs, you know, particular attention and focus on how to complete diligent attention on him getting his assignment done or whatever it may be, as opposed to like, you know, the 15 other kids where you're just like, here's the assignment, here's what you're supposed to do, here's how to solve the problem, here's how to do what you're supposed to do, here's how to, you know, clean up the youth space, and then I can move on and go and do other things. I've already, given them the task, and I've told them that they can do it, and I've encouraged them that they can do it, and so they do it.
Yeah.
As opposed to like that one kid who needs that one attention. Like, there's even one in terms of, as I have a new job, like I said, right? There's even one specific kid that like, there's been so many times where like, I don't get anything done in the day because he comes to me. He's very comfortable with me, but like I can't get a lot of the things that he's done in the day because he just like I tried to get him to read. Okay. It took I'm not like it's not even a complex book. We're not talking about like Catcher in the Rye or something. It no joke took me 45 minutes for him to get him to read 2 pages.
Oh wow.
45 minutes. Like I couldn't get anything. Like my coworkers saw like how fresh I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was like I got to a point I'm like, you know what? You don't even have to retain anything. Just read the words on the page right here.
I'll be satisfied.
Yeah, I'm like, I will lower my standards. If you can just do this, I'm okay with it. So really and truly I've come to understand that like I want to, in terms of like Cat, Superman, like I said, Kai and Guilty Gear. A prevalent one out in this case too would be like Mega Man X, because he creates like a utopia. Ended up turning into a dystopia in Mega Man Zero. That's a whole different conversation.
Oh dear.
Right? But like X wanted to create a place of peace where people could grow. And every year I'm like, I want to facilitate change with people to support them in, growing. But in order for me to do that, I have to create the space for change, but I can't get the change for everybody, if that makes sense. Because I'm only one person. There's only 24 hours in a day. There's only so much I can do. So
to add to that, I'd say it's a common theme with superheroes in general. Like, if you look at, I'm going to use Bruce as an example. He started, like, trying to make a change by himself, just simply with Gotham. And then, he eventually ended up joining the Justice League because he understood that the world is much bigger than he expects and he can't do it himself. That's why even, like, Superman and Captain America, they're not solo acts, right?
Yeah.
They're part of, like, a bigger unit.
Exactly.
Because they know at the end of the day they can't do it by themselves. So I think it's a very important lesson to take away.
Exactly. And that's some of the things I've had to learn. And so I've wondered why, like, my channel hasn't gotten to where I wanted it to. Not in the sense of really comparing myself, but just really, like, I realize, like, social media statistics don't matter to me. I care less about views and more so just having a meaningful comment to have a conversation. Like, even in terms of my Instagram posts, I don't really care about, like, getting like 50 likes. Like, I've gotten that. It doesn't really do anything for me. But I don't know if you remember, there's one session I had with Hiyushi. I don't know if I sent it to you, and it was about like mental health and like therapy with regards to Demon Slayer. And there was a guy, you remember what I'm talking about, right? And there was a Navy SEAL who commented on it, and we ended up having a really good conversation about help and therapy and mental health, and that was it. Like, fuck, I already saw it already. But forget the 50 comments. Like, forget the 50 likes. I'd rather 50 comments, and not in the sense of like I had 50 people comment on it, but like I take more value from like the qualitative stuff, where like I'm actually having that conversation with somebody. And so one of the things I realized, I remember I was looking at a channel. I think it's called After School. And it really inspired me to give me clarity in terms of like during this COVID time, to really give me clarity in terms of what I want to do with Black Nerd Talks. And so I realized that, that those things don't matter, and more so, what's it called? That when you're creating those YouTube videos, there's going to be people that are commenting. I remember it was one, After School did one video about like finding your career choice or what you want to do in life. And I remember looking to the comments, and I saw how there's so many people who lacked direction in life. And for me, I felt that was that left me distraught, because I could see so many people kind of like in pain, and I don't know how I would have been able to cope with that in terms of like my own mental health, seeing so many people write, I don't know, how to find purpose in life, and I'd want to, help all these people. And there's no way I'd be able to do that. I'm only one person. I could see that, like, in order for me to get to that point, I would have to learn to, the way I worded it is just the same as you're a teacher assistant and I'm more of like the teacher role, if you will, that I need to learn to trust into the Gabriels of the world.
Okay.
Because like I also saw that within those comments that there were people that were saying, that were actually replying to the people that, didn't have direction. There were people that were replying to them as life coaches, like, a lot of the positions that you do, like, personal trainers, life coaches, like the stuff that you do, and they're actually giving people conversations that actually turn into like their own conversation, helping them. But like, it's really for me to understand, like, if you want to follow that kind of role as, like, I guess you could say cap, if you will, or in terms of, like I said, being a space for change, you can't always be the facilitator of change. You just have to create the space and the conversation for it, and allow that to turn to something. Because, like, you're just one person. And it even makes me think of, like, what you were saying before in terms of, like, the teamwork within the Just League and Avengers. I know, like, Civil War is not your favorite movie, but there's a lot of, like, personal character development with Cap. With him saying, like, no matter, like, if I see a situation point to stuff, I can't ignore it, right? And one of the other ones that he said was that, after this situation in Nigeria happened, he's like, this job, you can't help everybody, but if you start, focusing on that, then eventually, then maybe next time nobody gets helped. Can we really help?
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna bring that up. I wasn't sure if it was from a movie or a comic. It's something Cap said, as in you can't save everybody, but you do what you can, and that's what's important. And if everyone were to do so, then the world would be such a better place.
Exactly. And so for me, I realized I'm like, there's certain, like, where I'm working, one of the main things I've been trying to do is to, like, you're going to be adjective at this point in this conversation. I need to find more Gabes, essentially. Because there's a lot of kids who are falling through the cracks. And I, like, as much as, like, sometimes people were asking me to do it because, like, I can relate to them because, I was one of those kids. I'm like, there's more things I want to do. Like, I'm kind of moving away from, like, before my work was more so very, like, individual based, but now I'm moving in terms of group based work. Like, I'd rather have, like, 10 people in the room and we have a conversation than me talking to that one kid.
Yeah, okay.
It's not because, like, I like, as you said, like, just checking my ego and whatnot. I don't think it's ego or pride or feeling like, I'm doing more than you. It's just that, like, I feel like I just work better like that when I have 10 as opposed to one. I just feel like I'm just more effective. Yeah. Does that makes sense? Like, since COVID happened, I started the I don't know if I told you, but I have, like, a manga comic book.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Right? Like, that's, like, good. I think there's a good, like, 10 kids in there. I'd rather do that than just, like, read comics with one kid. Not to say that's a bad thing or it's less of value, as you broke it down to me. Yeah. Is that, like, I'm able to facilitate that, and that's easier for me to do than to do one kid, because it makes me feel like I feel a sense of anxiety and frustration that I'm not really doing as much as I can. And so, really and truly, like, that's been, like, my main focus, is just really realizing, like, well, the thing is, like, as much as Cap inspires people, he's not talking to every individual person. Just like, how, like, Peter, like, a lot of the missions that you do in Spider-Man, like, half of it, like, you're not seeing, I can't see any of the Avengers doing any of those missions except maybe, like, Tony for, like, a car stolen. Yeah. And even I can't really see Tony doing that.
Exactly. Not the individual helping. They're more big picture, per se.
Exactly. Like, when you stop Hydra in the Avengers game, you stop AIM. Not like, hey, are you, like, they're not stopping human trafficking like that. Unless it's, like, human trafficking coupled with experimentation and stuff like that. They're not really stopping, like, someone's purse being robbed.
I think at the same time, it really highlights the difference in the heroes that we look up to and that we really identify with. Like me, I've always been more street level. I always thought it was more because of the simplicity of what they do, stop a mugging, all that type of stuff. But I think it's also the individual attraction. Like, I'll smile when I read, like, little Batman comics of, like, Bruce, he stops a mugging and, like, comforts, like a child or something like that. Little personal interactions. And I think that's what I really, really gravitate towards in terms of stories and characters in general.
I actually was going to bring up one thing, because, this is kind of like a follow-up to our conversation on Spider-Man, and, like, life lessons from him, in the sense of, like, it made me once again think of, like, the Spider-Man comic where he's teaching math, and I think you said that same day you were teaching math too, right? Yeah. So, yeah, that's sort of, for me, it's always been greater than life heroes, I guess. Maybe because that's something I always want to be. I always want to like inspire people and leave like a lasting impression on as much people as possible. And so those characters have been the one who influence me. Like when I read their comics and I can see, or even watching their movies and they're giving those inspirational speeches, it motivates me and reminds me to keep doing what I'm doing and to keep pushing on and to remind myself like to have hope. I know. It's ironic the fact and cliche the fact I use the word hope, but that's essentially it. Like they remind me of myself, and they in many ways they keep me grounded in terms of like the things that matter to me, and also like what they do to people. Like when people are like I remember in one of the what was it the MCU news channel, I forgot, WHIH. I can't remember what it stood for.
I don't remember the specifics of it, but I know it starts with a W.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember one of the, like how they have like, like in the news they would always have like those, I guess, news updates or small little news updates like CNN and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of them was like a guy who was once paraplegic decided to, what was it called? He decided to run in a marathon because Captain America inspired him. Even though Cap didn't talk to the person at all, but that guy is inspired by Cap. Like that means a lot to me. The fact that I'm able to inspire people. Yeah, I guess it really just comes down to like I want to inspire people because like I've gone through things, and not to say I'm like I've gone through more things than others, but I'm just like whatever you've gone through, you can get through. Because like whether it's a learning challenge like how I have, or the issues with my dad's health, like. You can get through those things. I've been through those things. Other people have been through those things. You can get through those things too. Mm-hmm. And to kind of, share those stories I have like through this channel to talk about those experiences and to share like those experiences with you guys and the experience that you guys go through too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had to learn that like if I want to, as you said, like one of the things that hurt me in terms of like where I worked before is I was trying to be the teacher assistant and the teacher at the same time.
That's tough. It's 2 jobs.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. That it's 2 jobs. I never looked at it that way, actually. Yeah. And so I've had to learn that I have to pick one, and I also have to understand, like, just like with anything in life, there's consequences.
Yeah.
If you want to teach a group, you have to understand that just no matter where you are, there's going to be kids that fall through the crack. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do about that? You can't stop the kids from falling through the cracks. It's life, and it's control. Right? And so what are you going to sort of do about that? Like even for me in terms of the manga group, I understand that like I'm going to need to have some of the kids, some of the older ones, be more capable to help others that like are once again falling through the cracks, if that makes sense. Yeah. I can't handle that. Like I'm one person once again, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I've learned to do. Really learning to like I said, trust in the games.
I like that. I like that expression.
Yeah, like that's really what I've had to learn. Like they're out there and they're helping people. They may not do this whole grand thing or whatever it may be, but they're out there. They're helping people. They're life coaches. They're personal trainers. They're teachers. They're teacher assistants. Whatever the term is, but they're out there and they're helping the kids that need that help. Mm-hmm. And I'm not alone. I guess that's what it really comes down to, realizing that I'm not alone. And so it really kind of puts me in a space of trust. So I'm learning to just trust the process and trusting in others when it comes to that. I don't know how it is for you in terms of like if you have to deal with like those sort of consequences, like maybe you did want to be a teacher but you cared too much. I don't know how it is for you.
I think the way I've learned the most of my lessons is with my previous, I still do it part-time, my tutoring job. And I've experienced like tutoring like a decent sized groups occasionally. Like now I just do 3, but during let's say exam periods, like it'll be like a good table of 10.
That's a lot of attention, considering how like particular you get the attention.
Absolutely. And I don't mind doing it, but I realize that I prefer to be a finer instrument instead of like a wide net. And it really comes down to like how do you derive your happiness, what makes you happy, because at the end of the day if you're not happy you won't be effective. And
how did you narrow it down? Like how did you realize you want to be the fine instrument? Like how I said I want to be broad, like how did you?
I wasn't able to measure progress as easily when I looked in a group.
Really?
Yeah, because let's say when I taught a group, they understood the material, they performed decently, sure.
Compared to the interactions I've had with individuals, they come back and like, listen, I actually passed my exam. I'm really happy for what you did, and it makes more sense mathematically for me, because all that energy is being concentrated towards
one person
instead of being spread out. So obviously, the return from said student is going to be much.
So it makes it happier.
Yeah. So in return, it makes me want to do that, and that's how I realized that I would probably make a fantastic teacher, no doubt. But I would not be as happy teaching as instead of what I'm doing now, because that's at the end of the day how I derive my happiness.
Okay, that's probably what's one of the I want to ask what's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned from, like, in terms of how you relate to your characters and how that's influenced your career choices and what you decide to do.
Quite
like how is like Peter and like Matt,
I actually, Dick, Bruce, all of my street level heroes. There's one lesson I've taken really to heart from all of them is that change is slow, very, very slow, and also patience is a virtue. Like if you look at, let's say, all the vigilantes and the things they do, they help people on an individual basis, right? Like I'm gonna use Batman as an example because his situation is really highlighted. Like he's trying to more or less stop crime, sure, but he's doing it one person at a time, and he doesn't get. Well, there's times he does get discouraged, but at the end of the day, he's happy of what he's doing because he knows that eventually it adds up. And there's certain comics that, like there was one comic where GCPD got a bunch of letters addressed to Bruce, Batman, and they all had a mini story of how Batman specifically touched this person's life, and it added up. It was a huge bag. And one night, he just took a break from saving the city and read each of them individually.
Sure.
And he realized the impact that he was having. And he knows that, crime can't be eradicated today nor tomorrow, maybe not even in his lifetime. But he still feels that slowly but surely, these things add up. And it's the same for any street level hero that doesn't try to, let's say, tackle the whole system or change how everything works. Like even Daredevil, who has a very great understanding of the legal system, knows that probably he won't see crime be eradicated. Definitely not. But he still derives his pleasure from helping people every day, the individual. Same with Peter, and even same with Dick, actually, the entire Bat family, except for Jason.
I won't comment on Jason Todd. I'm not going to comment on that. What I want to say, didn't Peter also get the same thing? Letters? Isn't that like where the whole him like well, not letters, but people there was something, because that's what led to the comic about him teaching that kid math. Like I think people were telling.
It was some sort of I'm most likely wrong, but I think it was some sort of podcast. Then people were going around. There was someone going around interviewing, and the last person they interviewed was actually Peter, and he talked about Spider-Man, which was really interesting.
Oh, and
they're saying like, how does Spider-Man affect your life? And then that's what led with the Spider-Man teaching the algebra to the child. They're saying like how he's touched their lives and how it changed. It was a good issue. It was a very good issue. Probably like one of the best issues of its year for Spider-Man, hands down. Actually, easily.
Sounds like Tomasi Superman for me. I guess for me it's like the way, like the same as you're talking about the letters and podcasts. For me, it's the way like Cap or Superman, Kai as well, X, the way they would give speeches and how that would affect others and how they feel and see themselves in the world around them. Like that's always the thing that's like motivating, inspiring, because it inspires me. Like whenever, like I think I'm like one of the things that has one of the comics that's coming up at the top of my head was like the Trial of Lex Luthor, and there's the Superman comics. I forgot the other line. Action comics. Happened Action comics, and like I really loved how like there's a fear of like Lex Luthor becoming the next Darkseid, and he's like, we have no proof of that, and the reason I wear the S on my chest is because I always feel that I've committed myself to the idea that we cannot try an innocent man unless there's proof that he's done something wrong, and that everybody has a capacity for good. We cannot, snuff out someone's potential because of a fear of what might be. And I'm like, I love this guy. I love this guy. I'm like, that just hit me. That's why I always I always love those characters and how they remind me of like what matters most to me. I remember even in terms of Guilty Gear, Kai was like talking to Soul, and Kai was telling Soul that, you know, hope is wanting. As much as like human beings are like very destructive to the planet, like what's wrong with wanting? I know this comes ironic for you. What's wanting with one more bottle of whiskey? And for him, that's what hope means. To just really have like, oh, I just want to do this one more time. I just want to like enjoy life again. And what's wrong with human beings wanting that? That's that's what drives us, right? To like just want a little bit more and to enjoy life a little bit better. And that's what creates the concept of hope. And that's the sort of thing that's always sort of motivated me. I want to give, you know, people hope. And, you know, when I'm with a lot of people, just getting them to like talk and express themselves, it really, and getting people to challenge the way they think and see things, that's when I see progress the fastest. Because I'm seeing people, because as I'm creating that, the same as like you said, you focus on one, and that allows you, as like, you know, like Spider-Man and like Batman, it allows you to focus on like one person, because as you has that attention, it facilitates that. As I'm with the group, I'm getting everyone to share and to support one another. I guess I like creating a space. I like to create a community, a space of community, and I've learned one of the things I'm strong at. You know, with what I was able to do with the Montreal scene with you, Matt. Yeah. You know, I was able to create a Montreal fighting game scene. Like I create spaces where everyone can support one another. I'm very good at that, and so that's the sort of thing that matters to me. Just creating a space where everyone can talk and connect and build and grow and help one another grow. It's not just me doing it. It's like, oh, like you know how one of our friends was telling us that he wants to get into coding, and I told him about Ken and how he's in coding. That's the sort of thing I mean, to just create that sense of like community where we're all able to help each other. Like, oh, you're doing this. Oh, well, I know someone else that's also doing this. Let's, you know, connect. Let's collaborate. Let's build together. And even the same case, like in terms of like my relationships too. Let's help. Let's grow. Let's build, and so on and so forth. That's the sort of thing that sort of matters to me. Okay. So, and that's why I've learned. I would say, especially since our conversation last time with regards to Spider-Man, it's helped me learn the idea of like building what progress looks like, and then working as a team. Because like really and truly, like where I worked before, because you know I was a teacher and a teacher assistant. There's no way I'm having team support, right? But who's to say, did I really want that team support? Maybe I wanted to be that person that was doing everything.
That's true,
right? I would say definitely wanted to be. Well, because I'm encouraged to do it too. I was initially reluctant because I know what it's like. And this is what happened to me, you know, in terms of like, you know, like my job career changes, and you know what happened to me in the past. Yeah. In the sense of I've understood specifically from Iron Man 2 and Iron Man's World's Most Wanted Man. You know, my least favorite Iron Man arc. I still did take lessons away from it, in the sense of like when you become that guy, that person, when you make a mistake, it's that much heavier. When you're doing good, it's great, but when something goes wrong, it goes severely, like downhill, because you're that person. Everyone like looks at you. Everyone kind of
that regard.
Exactly. I don't know. Did you watch Vinland Saga?
Yep.
Okay. Askeladd.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? Like, he was revered, and people, I think they were calling, like, they were saying, like, you know, his flaws, they were saying, like, he doesn't make mistakes. Like, of course he makes mistakes, he's human. But the thing is, he was always making such right decisions, and he never really, like, allowed people around him to get to know him more, that, like, it caused his soldiers to kind of see him a very particular way, that, like, you know, towards the end of the season, when things weren't going his way, they're like, I don't know if we should follow him. Right? Because he's been that guy the whole time. But now, because, like, he has so much weight on him, whenever things aren't working out, like, now everything is entirely his fault. It's the same as everything went right entirely because of him. Now everything's going entirely wrong because of him. Yeah. And so going through those experiences, I've seen that, and so that's why I've always been kind of reluctant to step up in life. Okay. Because I knew, like, if I make a mistake, like, you're gonna live it. right? And I experienced that. So, but I also know that like if you also focus on that, then you're never gonna get you're never gonna go anywhere. If you're just gonna focus on mistakes, and more so even in terms of like as much as like, his like like in the case of Askeladd, as much as like his soldiers were idealizing him, he also never made the effort to ground himself to them. He never let them know like they found out at the end they're like, oh yeah, I don't like you. What was it? Like his Saxons. I don't like you. Was it the Saxons that he didn't like? I can't remember.
I feel like saying it was the Saxons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't like you Saxons, and they're like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, it was only Bor. Yeah, Bor was like his only true friend, and the rest they didn't know that because like he never let them get to know him. He led more as like an image than like a person.
He was content.
He was an idea.
Yeah, he was an ideal. Like, he was a figure.
Exactly. He wasn't really a person as such. Like people fail, but like when you are constantly idealizing someone, you're never gonna really get to know them.
Yeah.
And so I've also known like it's important for me to like explain people who I am and how I am as a person, because otherwise like they're gonna have like a warped perception of me, and that's created problems before. Like I remember one time there was this young girl I was talking to, and like I was talking like Deb and I had an argument. She's like, "You guys argue?" I'm like, "Yes." Like any other person, we're not just this ideal perfect couple that just somehow just gets along all the time. Like that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's not an aspect of me that's real. So yes, that's some of the stuff I learned, and just really understanding that I cannot help everybody. I can only create the space for everyone. Not even then, I can't help everyone, but I can create the space for people to get helped. That's the best I can do, and so that's really what I've had to learn in terms of like really doing my best to ground myself through like my work on YouTube, and just realizing that like create the space, but you can't facilitate everything.
Because I think at the end of the day, what's important is that everyone has not necessarily a calling, but a role that they fit most. And once you find that, I think it's best that you dedicate all your energy to said role, and that's when you'll be the most effective, and probably how you'll be the most happy.
Yeah, it's true. Like really finding like purpose. And I feel like a lot of people can learn that from the heroes that they look up to, and like what they do. Maybe like for you, like you love Daredevil. You didn't decide to be a lawyer, right? You probably could have been.
It was all man, I won't lie.
I'm not so. You're very good at. You're very book smart. You also, I'm not saying you're not street smart, but you're very book smart. Like you're very learned, right? And then more so, you're very good at, I guess, debating. That would be the word. Debating, and you're a good orator. There we go. That'd be the best word of wording you. You're very good at orating. You're very good at talking. So yeah, I could have seen you do it, but like you decided to be a teacher assistant, right?
Yeah.
And so that's definitely not Daredevil, but you help people on an individual level, like Daredevil does. Even at him as a lawyer, he's not helping like companies, right? Exactly. Which is a lot of people. He's like, this one homeless lady, I'll help you handle that parking ticket.
I got you.
Right?
Yeah.
So, that's the sort of thing that, I feel like a lot of people could learn that in terms of the characters that they love and what they do, and to find purpose in that. Another question I want to ask you is, have some of your life goals been influenced by like the characters that inspire you?
It's actually a very good question. Have they been changed? If anything, I think where I want to be in the future is inspired more from. I'm going to use poor Spider-Man as an example, but the shortcomings of certain heroes. Because, as you know, I love Spider-Man, but one problem he has constantly is the fact he hasn't built anything for himself, per se.
Okay. All right.
Like, Peter is, probably maybe comic book-wise is like a bit younger than me. Like, probably, I think, 28, 27.
Yeah.
But he's still,
I think he's 28 in PS4 Spider-Man 2, right? No, he's 26.
26. That
26.
Rings a bell. But he's more, like at the beginning of the current run of Amazing, he moved in with Randy. Randy is what's that other guy's name? Robbie? He works at Daily Bugle. Robbie Robinson.
Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His son Randy, he moved in with him. They got an apartment, but it wasn't a fancy apartment. It's literally like, we need something cheap type apartment. So it's like, in terms of that, he didn't seem to be going anywhere. And what does he do for work? I don't remember. He hasn't been to... His stories have been really focused on being Spider-Man, but he's always going from job to job, and that's why I loved more when he was a teacher, because I found it fit. But he didn't build anything for himself, even relationship-wise, although now he got back with Mary Jane.
They finally allowed it?
Yeah, they finally did. I'm so happy. But he, at least he's building that, but he hasn't built anything. That's the lesson I took from that, is that it's important to build, because otherwise you'll have struggles. That's why I'm trying to, establish myself in terms of a nice stable job that I can get pleasure out of. And then maybe, hopefully this year, I'm going to move out and something and build from there. And I'd say even Daredevil...
that makes sense, but you never really spoke about that before. Not in a negative sense, but you never really shared such thoughts until because I remember you telling me about it earlier today, like a couple hours ago actually. So that's really interesting. I never thought that that's how you looked at it, and that's why you've been moving the way you've been moving lately.
But I think the influence-wise, a lot has come from Bruce and the things that I say Bruce. I don't mean Batman. I mean Bruce, because his plans for Gotham. He's trying to build a legacy. And furthering his plans, he has steps in place, and I think it's important to have those steps and further yourself. So I think he has had a huge play in how I've been moving through life as well. And the things I've taken away from his negative mindset is he's Batman, but sometimes he's not happy depending on the writer.
That's true.
And he suffers for it. Hence the reason I decided it was very important to be happy in what I do.
So purpose and happiness, essentially. Long-term purpose and happiness. Sorry.
Yeah. So I want to be, to find that happiness that he's not able to obtain as much, which is unfortunate. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, now I feel like I have to go twofold. In terms of like I said, purpose. It would be what I've seen X do, what I've seen Mega Man X, what I've seen Cap do, what I've seen. I would say I would focus more on X and Kai and Guilty Gear, because they've created a community. They've created a place for people to be safe. Yes, in Mega Man X it got warped and whatnot. I get it, but the point is he created an Elysium. He created a sanctuary for Reploids, robots, and for people to exist. He accomplished it. I guess I look at it differently. So for X and Kai, in the sense they built something.
Yeah.
And then for Cap and Superman, they symbolize something. People, if they see the shield, if they see the S, they know what it's about.
Yeah.
Both within our real world and within their own world. If they see that, they know what it stands for something, it means something. It stands for immutable ideals and values. It doesn't change. It's this thing. No matter what, all the time, all day, every day, say it with your chest. And that's the sort of thing that I want to be too. I don't know how that would ever look like in my life. Maybe it would be Black Nerd Talks as my brand. Maybe it'll be that. But that's the sort of thing that I respect about them. And then in terms of like I said, Kai and X, it's really just building something, and that's really the direction I'm moving in. Because I've realized that's one of the things I really excel at. It's not just as much as money and so on and so forth are important to learn, to build on, the language of money, as they say. I've learned a lot of things in recent months, but it's also about for me building something. And then in terms of their downsides, I guess, because as you mentioned that, I would say in terms of Cap, which is a challenge for me, it's something I've really been working on. I actually have a therapist now that I've really been working on that with. It's leaving work at home, or I'd like to say the work. Cap's a soldier, right? You remember in Age of Ultron. I know it's not one of your favorite movies, but you remember what Ultron said, where it's Captain America, God's righteous man. Pertaining to you can live with in a world without war. That had a really big impact on me, and so I've really been doing my best to kind of not carry work with me. Doing my best not to do that, and to kind of create boundaries with people. Whether it's my mom asking too much from me emotionally, or even in terms of like this week, I'm on vacation. First time in my life, I'm actually on paid vacation, and I'm doing my best not to talk with my kids. Even though like it's a simple message, I'm like I have to learn that like if you start doing that, then like when are you gonna stop? When are you ever really on like a vacation? Whenever you actually
do you actually hang up your tights?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's really what I've been working on doing. I guess that's really like as we spoke about like with my recent experience with my girlfriend. I feel like that's kind of like the direction I'm going in because I need it's important for me to have peace when I'm home because I don't really get that on the outside. Not to say people like trying to like fight me all the time, but in the sense of like we're helping people. It's taxing.
Yeah.
And like there's evidence that shows, and I'm sure you know this too. Like the people you're trying to help, when people who are trying to help others are more likely to get sick and worn out than the people that they're helping.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So really like learning to like pace myself and what that means, and creating that once again that sort of boundaries, hanging up the tights, and so that's been like one of the things I've been doing my best to do, and really just like taking care of myself. Self-care has been a big thing. Dev has been really a good support system when it comes to that. I realize it's a lot easier for me to like, even though like it's not like I'm living in a box and I bought a mansion for someone, but like it's a lot easier for me to help others than to like help myself. It's a lot easier for me to buy others gifts and to like make sure like I got the gift that I want for me, and to focus on getting myself that gift for me and not waiting for someone to do it, which is unset expectations, which is gonna lead to unhappiness, and then more so learning to treat myself, reward myself, like how I have the Captain America sculpture right. That's a symbol of that. As much as Cap's a symbol, but like buying that was really a gift to me, and rewarding myself and committing myself to doing something that matters to me. Since creating those goals, have they shifted at all with the characters that matter to you?
Shifted in what sense?
Like, okay, so for me, I've wanted to help people, but I've also realized that like I want to help people in a very specific way. So I've learned that like I've really had to come to terms with, like I said in our conversation, it's a group, it's a building, it's a community. That's the only thing that works for me right now, because that's just how my mind from it. Maybe it is because of an unhealthy connection with Captain America and the others, or maybe it's just that's just really how I am. I work better in groups. I work better in like having 50 people as opposed to like 2, and working with that frame in mind. Like even right now where I work, I'm actually in the process of creating a new system of community outreach with where I'm working with that's my dehumidifier. Creating a new system on community outreach now. So I'm moving away from like just really doing programs, because programs are kind of more along the lines of what you do. We're working with individuals. I'm like, that doesn't work for me. I don't even think that's effective. Like even really truly, like if I have to speak honestly with you, like I'm working in Galloway area, and I'm with your experience too, and with all our friends' experience. Like one of the things that hit me the other day was like, Galloway's always been poor. Why? Like we have poor areas in the world. Why are they always poor? Why are they not been rich? Why is there not a fluctuation even? Why is this place always poor? What is going on for this place to be poor this whole time? It's not new. It's been going on. So why is it still like that? Yes, I get like what you were saying in terms of like change takes time, but like nothing's changed. So why? Those are the recent things that have been coming in my head. I don't really expect an answer from you or from me. Is that I'm like, why is Galloway always poor? Why is Malvern always poor? Why are certain boroughs in New York always poor? Why is the Bronx always poor? Whatever it is. Why are these places, they've been poor, we've known they're poor, they're still poor. Why are they still poor?
It's food for thought. It's obviously the answer would not be very straightforward.
Exactly.
It would be multi-layered. And
exactly.
We could talk about hours about analysis of that.
Exactly. But it's like they've been poor. They've always been poor. It's like they've never not been poor. So, and if anything, maybe they had money, and then maybe like with Detroit, the car manufacturers moved elsewhere, and so now it's destitute. Like like I said, Detroit or parts of Detroit. But like really and truly, for the most part, like like where Nas is from, Queensbridge, like it's always been poor. Why hasn't that changed? Ever. It's been the same. That's very strange. And for something not to change within human existence, it's kind of weird. Like we're known for change. Like we never stay the same.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So those are some of the things I've been thinking about, but that's a bit of a separate note. But yeah, we're creating a new system on helping kids find purpose and like building, because like I've always wanted to help kids find more purpose in life quicker, because like yes, we were all able to, you, me, and all of our group of friends, we've been able to support each other and find purpose and help us find direction and self-identity. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't have that. A lot of kids don't have that. A lot of kids don't have that direction, or really being in a space where they're able to critically think about themselves, like, how do I learn? What matters to me? What do I want to do? What makes me happy? It's like, oh, I'll just, play video games all day. Not that that's a bad thing. We're all gamers, right? But like, there's only so much gaming can do.
Exactly.
So so I'm more in the space of like creating like a system right now. That's what matters to me. Not so much like teaching that kid how to read properly.
I understand that. Yeah.
So, because like I'm like, teaching him how to read is good, but his community is still poor. Why is that? That's more. I guess that's where more of my mind for
picture.
Yeah, that's where my mind is. I'm like, it's great if we, because like it does matter, because that kid can turn into something, and so on and so forth. But I'm like, why is your area still poor? Because as long as your area is still poor, people are going to think poor. And the thing I've had to learn like very recently is like, poverty is a mentality. Like I even had a conversation with my mom about like some of the choices that like her and my dad were unable to make because of the way they thought.
Okay.
So like I'm like, why is that? Why are these things still happening? Like I'm even thinking lately in terms of like certain community events. How there'd be free stuff, school bags, whatever. I'm like, are we allowing a poverty mentality within that?
Just how do you put it? Are we just feeding the cycle?
Exactly.
And not making the effort to break it. To
exactly.
More.
Exactly. So those are even some of the stuff that's been on my mind. Like, we are helping that kid in your class, but it's like, what is his home life like? Why is his parents not picking up, the slack in terms, because that's often what happens, right? The parents are working around the clock, whatever it is, so they can't help the kid. So it's up to you to help the kid, to teach him how to read. But it's just like, what if you weren't there? Not to say you're this defining factor, because that's a conversation I've had with Africa, but like, what if you weren't there? What if these things weren't there? Now this kid's gonna fall behind because his parents are working all day to cover their taxes, because they don't know like how to do income tax really properly, and it just like, do you get what I'm trying to say? There's a lot of things that are going on.
It's a vicious cycle.
Exactly. So that's really some of the stuff I've been thinking about. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but that's just what I've been thinking about. And like,
well, the way I see it is like, there are big problems, but I tackle problems like that like literally 1% at a time. That's just how I'm most effective. I wouldn't know where to start with a problem like that. But as I said, I define myself like a fine instrument.
Yeah, fine instrument. Yeah.
Like there are those like.
I feel like I'm trying to see that in one of your favorite characters' comics. I feel like I did. But yeah.
Batman, I think, referred to himself as a
scalpel
once.
I feel that he would say that.
Yeah. But no, that's it's just how I operate. It's how I'm most effective. That if everyone were to do what they're most effective at, I think the results would be very, very, very significant.
It's true. So that's really how I decided to, like, let me focus on what I'm really good at. Because the conversation with you, I'm like, I can't do what you do. I can't do what you do. The same as you said you can't be a teacher. Like, I can't do what you do. I can't sit with this one kid and get him to read. It just frustrates me. I'm like, oh my gosh, it should not be this difficult to get you to read. Especially since you're like, I don't want to read. But you have a problem. Like, he had comprehension problems. I'm like, you'll not improve your comprehension if you don't freaking read.
Yep.
I'm like, I can't, like, I'm sitting here with you for 2 hours. I'm like, I really don't want to do this right now.
Help me help you.
Right? So, yeah. But anyway, so, I don't know how long this conversation has been. Wow. Okay. That's been a pretty good length. I don't know if you have any closing thoughts when it comes to, people finding purpose in the characters that matter to them and the characters that resonate with them, and finding direction.
Well, actually, in terms of closing statements, not necessarily pertaining to the characters per se, but I would say what I've seen a lot of people struggle with, especially the people that are younger, is there's always that stress of like, oh, I'm gonna end up not knowing what to do, and then how will I make money? Just take your time, try things. You'll eventually find something that likes, but you shouldn't get discouraged. Always, have the courage to try out new things, and you'll eventually find your calling.
Essentially, what you're saying is like just be open-minded.
Be open-minded. You never know. And as a good friend of mine reminds me, one of my favorite sayings is that you don't know what you don't know. So you should keep that in mind.
I prefer Hatake Kakashi. I don't know if you remember. I always reference this, but you remember the beginning of Naruto, where they're trying to learn how to run on. They're trying to control their chakra number to walk on water and to run on trees, and like Sakura like flushed the trial. She like did it super easy because she has perfect chakra control even as a kid. But Naruto and Sasuke are trash. And Kakashi was trying to teach them, and they just kept failing. And then Kakashi's like, right now, you don't know. And you don't even know that you don't know.
Yes, okay. I
You don't even know that you don't know. So, I can't even teach you because you don't even know that you don't know. Once you realize that you don't know, then you can start knowing. But you don't even know that you don't know. So, that's really what, like, my thing is, especially for, like, I feel like for like teens, you feel like you know, but you don't know jack. Yeah. And I feel like within your 20s, we're all out of our 20s at this point. I feel like you learn a lot about. You start realizing that you don't know, and I feel like right now how I see 30s is like right now I don't know a lot of things, but I know some things. Like I know one or two things, not 5. 1 or 2 things, and that's all I can really go off of. I'm not really gonna say I know a lot of things. I've learned throughout my 20s. I don't know jack, but like I know 1 or 2 things, and like that's really just what the life cycle is. I don't know what I'm gonna say about like what 30s like when we hit our 40s, but that's how I see it. I'm like I know a couple things.
Pretty sure we'll have another video at some point in our 40s and talk about like, in 30s we knew 2 or 3 things, and now we know 4.
I was about to say like, we know 4 things. Like that's it. You spent a whole decade learning one thing. Honestly, yeah.
It was great. Don't regret anything.
Right? Yeah, like that's been like a schism between. Is it schism or schism? I don't even know the word.
It's schism.
I don't know what schism.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll double down. We'll double down on schism. And like, is like because my girlfriend, she's like in her. I was about to say you was actually the man over there. When you're in like your 20s, because like there's times like my girl was like, "Oh, why don't you try this thing?" I'm like, "I've done this before. It doesn't work for me." It's like, but you don't know. I'm like, actually, this is one of the few things I do know. Like I don't know a lot of things. This here, I know.
It's my one of 2 things that I know.
Right? Like yeah, she's asking me to like take on like more than one job to like cover my finances and whatnot. I'm like, I'm gonna get sick if I do this. She's like, yeah, you don't know. I'm like, actually, yeah, I did, because I actually got sick when I did this. So
speaking from experience here.
Exactly. So, and so I've learned how to, like, just move money around a lot better lately because of that. I'm just like, I'm not going to take on another job because, like, I'm done with where I worked before. But, like, I'm going to, like, move money around. And I've been able to cover, like, my finances because of that. Because of the things I learned.
The one of 2 things.
Exactly. That was the second thing I learned. I don't have a third thing I learned, though. Yet. Oh, yeah, true, because we're in our 30s. We have, like, a decade to figure out one thing.
We just started our 30s.
Right?
No.
One thing. So, yeah, I really hope that this can really give people a sense of guidance and purpose. For me, like I said, Superman, Captain America, Kai from Guilty Gear, Mega Man X, All Might, Deku from Hero. Like, those are the characters that give me direction. I just want to help people and help as many people as they can. So, and for you to be the fine instrument of helping the individual with whatever hurdles that they have. So.
Exactly.
So yeah, thanks for coming up once again.
No problem.
Wingless Boy Wonder.
Hey.
And yeah, we hope you guys enjoy this. Be out. Peace.